In today's Mass of Sexagesima Sunday, at the burial place of St. Paul, we pray in the collect or opening prayer. O God, you who see that we put no trust in anything we do, mercifully grant that by the protection of the Doctor of the Gentiles, we may be defended against all adversity. Welcome back to Crux Stationalis. Today on Sexagesima Sunday, we find ourselves at the Roman Station Church of the Papal Basilica of San Paolo, fuori le mura, or in English, St. Paul's outside the walls. Before we get started, kindly subscribe and like this video and share with your family and friends. Let's begin this episode with more on the liturgical season we are experiencing. The station churches of this pre-Lenten period comprise a series of visits to the tombs of the major patrons of Rome, invoking their aid and protection for the beleaguered city. St. Lawrence last Sunday, and this tomb here of St. Paul, and St. Peter next Sunday. The institution of the 3 Sundays before Lent, Septuagesima, Sexagesima, and Quinquagesima, is attributed to Pope St. Gregory the Great, who reigned from 590 to 604. The plague which killed his predecessor, St. Pelagius II, and led to his election was only one in a long series of disasters that befell the city of Rome and the Italian peninsula in the course of the 6th century. Constant warfare between the Goths, the Lombards, and the Byzantines had brought to ruins much of the former capital of the world, which in Gregory's time was also largely abandoned. In the year 546, the Gothic king Totila had expelled most of the inhabitants from the city. Small numbers of people returned, but the city would not be properly repopulated for centuries. The theme of calling upon the Lord in a time of tribulation is repeated frequently through the Masses of these Sundays, as we heard in today's collect of the Mass. Mercifully grant that by the protection of the Doctor of Gentiles, we may be defended against all adversity. This Doctor of the Gentiles is St. Paul himself, whose burial place lies directly below this altar in Ciborium. After the Apostle Paul's execution, having the right as a Roman citizen to be beheaded and not crucified, his followers erected a memorial called a Cella Memoriae. The first basilica was consecrated upon this spot by Pope Sylvester in 324. In 386, Emperor Theodosius I began erecting a much larger and more beautiful basilica with a nave and 4 aisles, the same basilica plan which remains today. A fire in the 5th century collapsing the roof, a Saracen raid in the 9th century, an earthquake in 1348, and finally a fire on July 15th, 1823, leading to the near total destruction of the basilica. This church building cast in stone the suffering and trials of its namesake. For the sake of the gospel, he was 5 times lashed, thrice scourged, once stoned, shipwrecked and adrift at sea, floods, robbers, sleepless nights, hunger and thirst, cold and nakedness. For Lent, let us say with Paul, I will glory in nothing save in my infirmities. For God says, my grace is sufficient for you, for strength is made perfect in weakness. Gladly, therefore, I will glory in my infirmities, that the strength of Christ may dwell in me.